Will Ferrell's new documentary takes him on a different path to explore new parts of today's America. For Will Ferrell, Saturday Night Live was way more than just a job. It was a place to prove himself, where talent, working together, and lots of late-night creativity shaped his career. But there was one week that was different from all the fun, and left him really hurt. Instead of the usual craziness with skits and laughing, Ferrell sat quietly and shocked as an older famous person made the room terrible with mean comments and stubborn attitude. The mood changed right away, so heavy and awkward that everyone could feel it. Ferrell never forgot how far this guest went to make the cast feel awful. Years later, he would still say no other host even came close to being this terrible. And once you hear who it was and what really happened, you'll get why he called this person the worst he ever worked with. Comedy dreams. Born in Irvine, growing up in Irvine, California, no one would have thought that Will Ferrell was meant to become a comedy legend. In high school, he was more known for playing football and being in student government than for telling jokes. He was friendly and popular, but he wasn't the typical class clown. Even as a kid, his humor came out in weird ways. Instead of sleeping in, he would wake up early to have fun by himself, sometimes even playing Monopoly alone. By the time he was a teenager, his natural humor was impossible to miss. In one math class, when the teacher told the students they were about to do some exercises, Ferrell stood up and started doing jumping jacks. It was silly, but it came naturally. His comedy seemed to come from gut feeling rather than wanting attention. Being a performer was kind of in his blood. His father, Lee Ferrell, was a musician who played saxophone and keyboards for the Righteous Brothers. When Will was just 8, his parents got divorced. He says it was handled peacefully, but watching his father struggle as a musician left a big impression. Seeing his dad deal with money problems convinced Will to aim for a safer path. Instead of going after comedy right away, he went to the University of Southern California and got a degree in sports information. It seemed like a smart middle ground, a stable career with just a little bit of entertainment. Looking back, Ferrell admitted that he didn't have the guts to admit he wanted to do comedy full-time. After graduation, though, the pull toward performing was too strong to ignore. He decided to give comedy a real try, and his mother supported him every step of the way. Without a job waiting for him, he moved back home, slept on the couch, and started taking acting classes while doing stand-up in clubs. It wasn't fancy, but it was the start of something bigger. To pay his bills, he took a short job as a bank teller. It turned out to be a disaster. He lost $300 on his first day and another $200 the next day. Ferrell quickly realized that regular jobs weren't for him. Later, he would joke that if comedy hadn't worked out, he wasn't sure what he would have done. His real break came with Saturday Night Live. Ferrell's tryout tape had a bunch of skits, including the now famous Get Off the Shed. For the tryout itself, he did impressions, including Ted Kennedy and Harry Carey, along with a few original characters. At one point, he even thought about pulling a prank by offering SNL creator Lorne Michaels fake money as a joke, but the room was so tense that he gave up on the idea. He thought he had failed, but against his own doubts, he got the job. Joining the cast was a turning point, not just for Ferrell, but for the show itself. SNL was struggling after a rough 20th season, and he quickly became one of its brightest stars. His ability to create unforgettable characters and nail celebrity impressions made him special. Some of his skits became legendary, none more so than the More Cowbell skit with Christopher Walken. That skit almost never happened. Ferrell had written it after hearing the faint cowbell in Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper and wondering about the life of the guy playing it at first. Lorne Michaels didn't see what was funny, and the skit was put away. Months later, when Walken agreed to host, Ferrell brought it back out, worked on it again, and turned it into one of the most loved skits in SNL history. Despite his success, Ferrell often had trouble at Monday pitch meetings with Lorne Michaels. While others came in with polished ideas, he would mumble something unclear like, "I have a skit that takes place in a recording studio." Somehow, Michaels trusted him enough to move forward, and time after time, Ferrell delivered. During his 7-year run on the show, Ferrell became the highest-paid cast member, earning $17,500 per episode, more than anyone in SNL history at the time. His influence wasn't just about money. When Chris Parnell was fired in 2001, Ferrell fought to bring him back, and Parnell later said he made it happen. Even while on SNL, Ferrell tried movies, appearing in films like A Night at the Roxbury and Dick. He was even cast in a film called The Whistleblower. where he would have played an ordinary guy running from corporate killers, but the project was never made. Around the same time, he and Adam McKay wrote a screenplay together, called August Blowout, a dirty comedy about ruthless used car salesmen, though it never got made. When Ferrell left SNL in 2002, he jumped right into movies with bold moves like Old School and Step Brothers, quickly proving he could carry comedy on the big screen. But even with all that success, he's admitted he wasn't always confident. His very first major film role made him nervous, worried that if it failed, his career might be over before it even got started. Luckily for him, that didn't happen. The role that almost ended Ferrell. In 2003, Jon Favreau directed what would soon become one of the most beloved holiday comedies of all time, Elf. At the heart of it was Will Ferrell, bringing Buddy the elf to life with wide-eyed innocence, endless energy, and just enough chaos to make it unforgettable. The story followed Buddy, a human who accidentally ended up at the North Pole as a baby and was raised among Santa's elves. Of course, being much bigger than everyone else and not exactly good at making toys, he always stood out. When he finally learned the truth, that he wasn't actually an elf, he went to New York City looking for his real father. What followed was a mix of culture shock, pure comedy, and holiday cheer, all rolled into one. Ferrell fully committed to the role, even when it meant going through some uncomfortable on-screen eating habits. Buddy's diet of candy canes, candy corn, and syrup might have been funny to watch, but Ferrell admitted it was awful in real life. He confessed in interviews that he ate so much sugar during filming that it left him restless, unable to sleep, and shaky. Cotton balls in one scene, for instance, were really cotton candy, but that hardly made things easier. Still, for Ferrell, anything that made the character come alive was worth it. Elf was loaded with memorable moments. Buddy's snowball fight in Central Park, his hilariously awkward singing in a department store, and of course, the quotable lines fans still repeat today. The film's cast added even more weight, with James Caan, Zooey Deschanel, Bob Newhart, Ed Asner, Mary Steenburgen, Peter Dinklage, and Favreau himself all playing key roles. Behind the laughter though, Ferrell carried real doubts about what the movie might mean for his career. He later admitted he worried about what people thought when they saw him running through New York in bright yellow tights. James Caan even remembered thinking Ferrell was over the top as Buddy. Ferrell himself once said that while filming, he wondered if the movie would either be a huge hit or mark the end of his career. But test screenings proved those fears wrong. Audiences loved it, and Elf became an instant holiday hit. According to box office records, the film made nearly $224 million worldwide and earned an 85% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It even inspired a Broadway musical, making it a holiday classic. Looking back, Ferrell shared that he was deeply proud of what the film brought to audiences. He remembered getting emotional during a scene at the Los Angeles premiere, realizing that Elf wasn't just funny. It carried a sense of innocence and joy that meant something, especially to New Yorkers at the time. He later said he still enjoys watching it whenever it's on. The film was such a success that talk of a sequel seemed certain. James Caan revealed that Ferrell was even offered an enormous $29 million payday to return as Buddy. Yet Ferrell turned it down. He explained that the script felt too much like a repeat of the original, and he couldn't bring himself to promote a project he didn't believe in. Caan, however, suggested there may have been more to it, claiming tension between Ferrell and Favreau was the real reason Elf 2 never happened. Around the same time, Ferrell was also shaping another comedy classic, Anchorman. What fans may not realize is that the first draft of Anchorman was almost completely different compared to the final product. The original version had Ron Burgundy convincing a pilot to let him fly a plane, immediately crashing it into a mountainside, and then leading his fellow newsmen through the wilderness while being hunted by orangutans. Yes, orangutans with throwing stars, though that wild idea was rejected countless times, including by director Paul Thomas Anderson. Some parts survived into the final script. Characters like Veronica Corningstone remained the reasonable voice, while the rest of the news team spiraled into chaos. Ferrell and Adam McKay eventually rewrote the story into the newsroom satire we know today, creating yet another comedy landmark. When Ferrell truly lost control in 2006, Will Ferrell was